Over the last 10 to 15 years, there's really more and more evidence that the crucial key to education quality is the quality of teachers. Mm-hmm. An education system really cannot be higher quality than the quality of the teachers. And the issue for many countries is that teachers are not recruited from the top half of students in the country. And so teachers are academically weak to start with. In many countries they are not well trained because the universities are not focused on the kinds of preparation that teachers really need. And the result is that, and the standards for hiring are very often not very high. And then most education systems have weak incentives for performance because teachers' promotions were historically granted on the basis of their years of service and seniority. All a teacher needed to do was stay in the school system, and every 5 years they would get a promotion just like every other teacher. But that's not the way the world works, because some teachers are much better than others. Some teachers work much harder than others. It's just like in any occupation, any field. And the result is that high-performing, smart, talented people who have a lot of options about what field they can go into, they don't want to go into a field where their talents and work will not be rewarded. Not be rewarded in terms of salary, in terms of the increases in their salary that they can expect if they do a good job, and not rewarded in terms of the kind of professional culture that they work in. Because another dimension that's really important is that teachers want to be around other teachers that are doing a good job. It's very demoralizing to be working hard in an environment where everyone else around you is just, sitting around and complaining and blaming the students, and instead of really improving their skills and always striving for better performance. So many countries that have low student learning outcomes, which is a red flag that the quality of the education system is not good. A core problem is the way they recruit, groom, and motivate teachers. And that was the key theme of the book that I wrote with Javier Luque 2 years ago on the quality of teachers in Latin America.
Ok, perfecto. Y desde este punto, México en la reforma educativa, uno de los puntos principales es la evaluación de los docentes. ¿Qué otros aspectos tendrían que ser evaluados para saber cómo está el estado de la educación? No en México, sino a nivel internacional.
Well, I think the Mexican reform is very important because it's really one of the major reform efforts in Latin America that's moving in the direction of recognizing that teacher quality is so important and really saying what can we do to improve it. Some of the reforms that Mexico adopted in the constitutional reform in 2013 were that teachers would be hired based on merit, based on a test of their competency. Teachers would be promoted based on merit in evaluations of performance, and teachers would have better incentives for performance. And those are the three core reforms that we see a number of other countries in Latin America doing. This is what Chile has been doing, this is what Peru is doing now, this is what Ecuador has been doing. So I'm very confident that that's the right direction, but at the end of the day, what counts is not just what direction you move in and what reforms you set on paper, but how they're implemented. And that's where the big issue is. What I've seen in Chile is that they've done a very careful job of implementing the way their incentives for teachers, the changes in the criteria for hiring new teachers, and the teacher evaluation system in Chile is really very good. They videotape teachers in the classroom. They have a panel of experts reviews the videos and gives them very, very detailed feedback on what the teacher's doing well, what the teacher's doing not so well, and that's the basis for the performance evaluation. And there was a big research study in the United States a couple of years ago by Tom Kane of Harvard University. It was commissioned by the Gates Foundation. And the question was, do we really have a methodology for determining which teachers are excellent and which teachers are not good? And he examined three main instruments for observing teachers in the classroom and evaluating them. Because, anyone can sit in a classroom and watch a teacher, but to come up with a valid evaluation, you have to have some rubrics. You have to have some definition of what things characterize high quality. How would you know high quality when you see it? How would you know low quality? You have to have a performance scale. So there's 3 different instruments that have been used in the United States that have those different scales and those different criteria. And what he found was that all 3 were really effective in being able to tell consistently which teachers were really excellent and which teachers were not excellent, but based on their classroom observation. If you don't do classroom observations of teachers, it's very hard to tell which teachers are truly good, because you can have teachers that do well on a written test, but they just don't know how, they don't support students' socio-emotional needs, they don't interact, they don't keep the students engaged, they don't make the classroom a happy place of learning. And so I really think that what differentiates the countries that are moving ahead from the countries that are having more trouble really at achieving improvements in education and the quality of teachers is whether or not they have a teacher performance evaluation system that includes classroom observation of teachers' work by experts. And it cannot be just the school director that does the observations. In Colombia, the reform in 2004 said that it's a good step to say that teachers need to be evaluated, just like the constitutional reform here in Mexico said. But in Colombia, it said that the teachers will be evaluated by the school director. And what happened